Now, yesterday we talked about Lanny Davis and Cohen, and we showed that Lanny Davis, he's just out there using propaganda to push a political agenda. And we're starting to see that Lanny Davis, the entire propaganda stunt, it's kind of falling apart right now because people are starting to realize that Cohen didn't say any of these things. And what's even funnier is that they gave the wrong link and they sent everyone off not to the GoFundMe page, but they went off to a page that supported Trump for re-election. And I thought that was very interesting. And these GoFundMe pages, these are payment pages where the deep state pays off these individuals for doing these type of work. Think about it. Do you think it's all the individuals around America giving in? Yes, there might be some of these individuals in there doing this, but it's the deep state that is funding these individuals through these GoFundMe pages. And they're using this to basically launder the money into them one way or another to pay them off for doing what they're doing. And this is how they get paid. And what we're seeing right now is that this whole thing with Cohen and his plea deal coming out, this was planned a while back, and they timed it perfectly to come out with Manafort. And when you look at the document, you can see there's a revision number 4/24/2018, and I know that's a revision number. That's not the exact date of when this was signed, and this was the last revision of this document. So when you look at this, you can see that this document was being prepared for a very long time, and they put it together and they held on to it until the right moment. It was timed perfectly. Now, we know that the FEC said that, yeah, there's nothing wrong with what Trump did. But if we flash back to October 25th, 2017, to the Washington Times, the FEC complaint accuses Clinton campaign, DNC, of violating campaign finance law with the dossier payments. This was published 9 months ago. So the former Clinton pollster Mark Penn says that Hillary violated campaign finance laws for not listing payments to Fusion GPS for Steele dossier as campaign expenditure. What happened? Absolutely nothing. The FEC says that Trump didn't violate any campaign rules. So the corporate media is out there. They didn't look at Clinton. The FEC is actually saying that she did violate this. They're not looking at it. The FEC says Trump didn't violate it, and they're saying that, he should be investigated. So you can see there's a major, major problem here. Now, Trump came out today, and he was saying that it ought to be illegal to flip. So Trump suggested it should be illegal for those facing prosecution to cooperate with the government in exchange for a lighter punishment. It's called flipping, and it almost ought to be illegal. Now, when you hear this, you say, why is he saying all this? Actually, everything that we're seeing right now, it's being done on purpose. And he comes out with these statements on purpose. And we need to go back to Q for a second to understand why he's doing this. Because when you hear it on the corporate media, when you hear it on the alternative media, when you read this, it makes no sense. Like, why would he be saying these things? Well, let's look at Q. Back on post 1685. I'm not going to read the whole thing. I'm just going to read the one line here that is going to bring us into why this is important. Now do you understand why mirrors and disinformation is necessary? Logical thinking. Post 1886. For now, we see only a reflection as in a mirror. Then we shall see face to face. Now I know in part, then I shall know fully, even as I am fully known. Corinthians 13:4-13. So when you listen to this, and Q mentions mirrors many other times, when you hear this and you hear mirrors, you start to think like, why mirrors? What is Q talking about? Well, if you look at what Trump is doing and you look at what the Patriots are doing and you look what is going on here, they are setting up the deep state right now because everything that you're seeing is going to be mirrored back on them. FISA to spy on Trump equals FISA for NSA to spy on Hillary. Guess what? They can't really argue with this. They can't protest it because they agreed that this was okay. Trump secretly recorded. Well, Hillary secretly recorded. When all this comes out, they can't say, well, you recorded her. Well, wait a minute. It happened to Trump. They already said it was okay. Campaign manager Manafort. Campaign manager Podesta. Bring him up on charges. Manafort trial. Podesta trial. Cohen offices raided. Perkin Coy offices raided. Trump attorney-client privileges waived by court. Hillary attorney-client privilege waived by court. Flipping is legal, and Trump says it should be illegal. So flipping is legal, and the corporate media is backing that up, saying, yes, it is legal, it's fine. So guess what? People that flip on Clinton, they can't come out and say it should be illegal. What you're seeing here is everything that's going to be done to Hillary. They are trapping the mainstream media. They are trapping the deep state. They're laying the foundation so the deep state, the mainstream media, cannot object because they already did it all to Trump and found nothing. But except there's going to be a very big difference. All the documentation and all the proof on Clinton, Obama, Comey, Strzok, and the rest. So we can see already this is what is being done right now. So when you hear this, this is all being done on purpose. This is part of the plan. Now today, we have Jeff Sessions going at Trump saying, hey, I'm doing my job because Trump came out there and said Sessions needs to do something. He's just sitting around. Now, remember, Q in many of the posts says, trust Sessions. The latest post, 1929, which was August 19th, said, listen close, Sessions hints to trust the plan. Q put this up there saying, trust the plan, and Sessions went on to say that they are not politically motivated, they're independent. So today, Jeff Sessions fired back at Trump, and Trump was saying that he never took control of the Justice Department, and Sessions fired back. And Sessions said, while I am Attorney General, the actions of the Department of Justice will not be improperly influenced by political considerations. I demand the highest standards, and where they are not met, I take action. However, no nation has a more talented, more dedicated group of law enforcement investigators and prosecutors than the United States. I took control of the Department of Justice the day I was sworn in, which is why we have unprecedented success at effectuating the president's agenda, one that protects the safety and security and the rights of the American people, reduces violent crime, enforces our immigration laws, promotes economic growth, and advances religious liberty. I am proud to serve with them and proud of the work we have done in successfully advancing the rule of law. Now, think about what is happening here. In the past, we had Department of Justice where they were politically motivated. They were controlled. During Clinton, during Bush, going all the way back. What Trump and Sessions are doing right now in front of the mainstream media, and of course, the mainstream media is out there, they're joking like, oh, Sessions better be careful, Trump is coming after him. What they're doing right now is they are building the case through the mainstream media to show that the Department of Justice is not politically motivated. The Department of Justice is going to work by the rule of law, and that they have people ready to go and move at a moment's notice. Yes, there are certain things that have to be done, like get rid of Rod Rosenstein and many others, but the point of this is that they're going back and forth and they're making it perfectly clear that Trump does not have the ability to make the Department of Justice do what he wants them to do because they are independent. That is what they're doing right now. And of course, everyone's making jokes and things like that. So you can see that this is all part of the plan that Q has been talking about. And when you hear all these different things coming out on the mainstream media that Trump is saying, it's not that he's crazy. He's setting the mainstream media up. He wants it on record. He wants them to disagree on purpose so this could be used later on. I mean, think about what is happening now. We know that Trump is going after the social media sites, YouTube, Facebook, Google, and the rest. And remember back when a court ruling said that Trump cannot ban people on Twitter who are commenting because it's a public forum? Do you think that was done by accident? Do you think that he was banning people just to ban people? He wanted the court to rule in a certain way. It was done on purpose. So later on, when the social media organizations, the social media websites like Facebook and YouTube and stuff, he's going to use that against them. All of this is being done on purpose, and it's going to be mirrored back to them. That is what is happening. This is part of the plan. Now, a lot of people say nothing's going on here. Well, if we look at like human trafficking arrests since 2010, and we go back to 2010, during Obama, all the way up to 2016, in 2010, Obama had 300, then in 2011, 938, 2012, 967, 2013, 1877, 2014, 1771, 2015, 1,437, and 2016, 1,952. The first full year of Trump being in office, 3,213. So far, in the year of 2018 to June 23rd, 5,987 arrests. And people say nothing is being done. All this stuff is happening behind the scenes. You don't hear it in the corporate media. They don't want anyone to know about this stuff. And we're going to be talking about other stuff that's going on and everything that people don't realize that's going on a little bit later in this report. But I wanted to get into what is happening out in Syria. Now, Lavrov was out there, and he is saying that the UN, that the political department of the UN Secretariat really published and disseminated throughout the UN system a secret directive in October last year prohibiting organizations participating in this system to take part in any projects to restore the Syrian economy. They only allowed humanitarian assistance, nothing more. So they didn't want the economy of Syria repaired. And of course, this was all part of the deep state's plan. They didn't want anything to happen. We see Russia right now, and this is coming from the foreign minister of Russia, Maria Zakharova. She's saying, and she's calling on the U.S. to fulfill its legal obligations and withdraw from Syria. Now, we know Bolton's on the other side, saying that they want Iran to be removed from Syria. And he's making all other threats like, oh, if Iran tries to, strike Israel, we're going to retaliate. This is all meaningless because Iran is not going to strike anyone because it would be a full-fledged war. And this is not what Iran is about. The deep state might try to pull something off, but I think that will be stopped. What is happening here is they're building it up, and eventually what's going to happen is Assad is going to ask Iran to pull back even further. They've already done this a little bit, and they're going to say, okay, all foreign troops must leave, except for Russia, must leave Syria. And this will then give the United States the AOK to remove the forces from Syria. And it's going to make it look like the U.S. has the upper hand in all this, saying, look, we force back Iran. We now can remove the troops. So this is all part of the plan, and it's all playing out right now. And we can see that this is only a matter of time before all of this hits. And I believe it's coming very, very soon. Now, I wanted to talk about what has been happening and what has been accomplished. And when we look at the Q posts and what we see what's going on out in the real world, we can see that there's been a lot that has been accomplished. On 8chan, someone posted a detailed list of everything that has been done. It might not be absolutely complete, but there's a lot here. And let me read it to you. It starts off with, I still hear people talking about Trump and Q not doing anything, or that the plan hasn't been implemented. I understand why people feel this way, but let's try to put things into perspective. I know it is hard, but I'll give it a go. The plan was implemented a long time ago, even before Trump was elected. It had to have been, or Trump wouldn't have been elected. Trump was inaugurated on January 2017. It is August 2018. That's a year and little over a half. What has been accomplished so far? Trump was elected even though the media was completely in the tank for Hillary and the election was rigged. More pedos have been arrested in the year and a half under Trump than under any previous president in that time period. At least weekly, we are hearing about some sex ring being exposed, and not just in the U.S. It seems like half of Congress is stepping down and won't be running for re-election. There are at least hundreds of CEOs and other higher-ups in corporations that have stepped down. The upper tiers of the FBI and Department of Justice have been removed and replaced. We know about NXIVM and the Podestas, along with a significant number of Hollywood elites getting exposed. Saudi Arabia went through a huge corruption purge. The puppet masters in North Korea were neutralized, and Trump was able to free Kim and allow him to run the country as he wants. Several assassination attempts have been thwarted. Human trafficking rings have been exposed on the Mexico border. The Department of Justice has legitimate investigations going on. Just to name a few, the Clinton Foundation, the Clinton emails, Uranium One, voter fraud, several murders including Seth Rich, and the treasonous acts of the 2016 election and since. Retooling and revamping of the judicial branch, establishing alliances in the legislative branch, over 45,000 sealed indictments. The public is aware of the mainstream media skullduggery. The public is more suspicious of the official narrative, making it more possible to implement the rest of the plan. The U.S. economy is no longer being intentionally strangled to make alternative governments appear appealing. Gitmo is ready for new tenants. What the Patriots are still fighting for and what they need to do here. Well, they're fighting against ex-presidents. Several of the last few losers of the presidential election, Hillary, McCain, and Kerry, to name a few. The Rothschilds family, and consequently all central banks worldwide. At least part of each of the Canadian, UK, German, Mexican, Russian, Chinese, Australian governments. The UN, a significant portion of the U.S. bureaucracy that was at least partially established for the specific purpose to limit the power of these elected officials. The Department of Justice, FBI, IRS, Secretary of State, to name a few. An untold number of billionaires from the U.S. and abroad and their massive companies, Google, Twitter, Facebook, and many of the industrial complex. The rogue CIA, makers of several of billionaires and mainstream media, a significant portion of the judicial branch, most of the legislative branch, the Democratic Party, the mainstream media, George Soros and his band of paid mercenaries, coyotes, drug runners, drug dealers, consequently Mexican and other organized crime syndicates, the media bureaucracy, Big Pharma, Supreme Court judges and other judges, well, they need to be put into place that will follow the rule of law. So a lot still needs to be done, and we can see that a lot has been done. Now, another Anon posted, why Q needs to pause everything right now because of this bad optics period. Now, we know what's going on. What they're talking about is the perception of everyone else that's looking at this, that believing the mainstream media. So as it sits today, everything looks bad for POTUS if you believe the corporate media, the deep state version of what is happening. So let's look at certain things objectively. The A1s, they walked, but his testimony, and likely the server, had been entered into evidence. Huber is in the on-deck circle, ready for his at-bat against A1. And again, if we go back to Q's post, it says A1 cannot be tried in that court system. It has to be done in a military court setting. Cohen has all sorts of delicious skeletons in the closet. The 2-0 burger charges cannot come back on POTUS, so let's wait and see what other tasty morsels are revealed in due time. Don't forget, it was Trump's people that raided Cohen's house and offices. I'm confident they seized exactly the things he pointed them to. Lastly, Manafort just got arrested, tried, sentenced, and jailed for things he did 10 years prior to joining a political cause. Now, the entire show is brilliant. It's showing the normies that the crimes of the deep state committed before and after the election are ruinous to the republic as a whole, and also worthy of prosecuting. Soon, the hammer will pivot 180 degrees when POTUS declassifies the 20 pages of the FISA warrant. That's the first layer that gets peeled, but it's the one that opens up the entire rest of the movie. Rod Rosenstein signed one of the extension requests. This forces the big reveal, one way or the other. Either he was asked to do it because he's been secretly working for white hats, both collecting evidence internally and acting his part in the movie, or he is dirty. And this also takes down Mueller, by extension Comey. Either way, the movie kicks into full gear. Huber begins unsealing, and I hope a couple video confessions of high-profile criminals are played for the general public. The next few weeks will likely be slow from the Annan's perspective. This is the time when normies are being gently roused from their comas. Don't push others during this time. There's no need for red-pilling right now. When the tsunami hits, it will be so overwhelming, the normies, and the normies are the people that are sleeping, will wake up on their own. No need for us to get in the way. Do not risk your relationships. Q has this whole situation under control. It cannot possibly play out any other way than what was promised, or it would lead to disastrous revolt. We're all good. So get comfy and enjoy the show. Trust the plan. Where we go one, we go all. And we can see at this point, there was a post where Q says they think POTUS is weak. They want them to think that he's weak, that he's caught in this. It's luring them in, and everything will be switched around. It will be mirrored right back on them. This is why this is all being done. This is why all of this prep work needed to be done in advance, because you needed all the players in place. You needed everything, all the documentation. You needed it all, and they have it all. They have the server. They have the documentation. You name it. They have everything. And right now, they're thinking that Trump is weak. They're thinking that he has no way out of this situation. And this is why when we go to post 1842, it says, never interfere with an enemy while he's in the process of destroying himself. And under that it says discovery. And we can see they are in the process of destroying themselves. Once it all starts to turn around, they can't make the argument the other way. They already agreed with everything that's going on. And everything's going to be mirrored back onto them. And they're going to be stuck. It's game